Welcome to our live edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching us. We appreciate you. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine, Chip the Prophet Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier. I want to thank everybody in Bethel Park for watching us only on Comcast 7. A lot of great feedback as I'm out in the areas. Appreciate that. And then on Verizon 32 from Nemacolin all the way to Cranberry, Wexford, and every point in between that has Verizon. Thank you for watching it. And then on our Facebook page, we hit a new high, 5,980. We're 20 away from that 6K.
6K, yeah.
We're going for 6K.
All the way to 6K.
That's our plan. Now, we do our opening segment of What's on Your Mind, and we're going to start that right now. Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And if you want the green,
Here it comes.
you got to see
Good hands.
Levine. Got my Steve Largent going.
There you go.
But what's actually on my mind is congratulations to the city of Cleveland. The Cavaliers won a first major championship for the city of Cleveland since 1964, which is 52 years, according to my math. And so congratulations. And I really think that if the team stays together, they're young, they have an opportunity to maybe repeat like the Penguins and do it back-to-back. But my feelings about the game is, first of all, congratulations, up 3-1. First team to come back from being down 3-1. But a lot of times you can't poke the bear. And I think that's what Golden State did. I think that Draymond Green, great player, could not play for me.
Why?
Because I can't trust him. And I remember I talked to Jimmy Johnson some years back when I was down in South Beach. And Jimmy Johnson told me one time, and this wasn't even in my notes, it just came to me.
Whoa.
And I remember he told me that he didn't believe in dumb players. He says I can't reason with dumb players. He said when he picked up Charles Haley, he said the reason is because everybody he talked to, Charles Haley was a problem, but he was an intelligent guy. And he says I can reason with smart players, and that's one of the best moves we ever made with the Dallas Cowboys. Draymond Green is a dumb player, and he's going to get you in trouble, and he cost Golden State a championship, number one. Number two, the more I studied the series, and I said it right from the beginning, I thought Oscar Robertson, who took a lot of abuse, he was obviously right. He said the way to control a guy like Stephen Curry is you got to pick him up and play defense earlier. If you got to pick him up at half court, if you got to pick him up, in the front court or whatever.
So pressure him.
Yeah, you got to pressure him. And that's what not only did Cleveland do, but I think that Oklahoma City also showed before they got soft that you got to be physical. I've never seen a player sitting on his keister as much as Steph Curry. Championship games, same way in hockey and other sports, the referees kind of swallow their whistle. And the Cavaliers just wasn't going to let Stephen Curry beat them. And so kudos to Oscar Robertson for what he says. And I just wanted to look at a few stats. You got to give it to LeBron James. And like I said, the one thing I always say is you never let a player get under your skin, get under their chin. And that's what Cleveland did. LeBron James almost averaged a triple-double, 36 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. Great small forward or whatever he plays. But
Isn't he 6'8"?
he's 6'8" or 6'9".
Yeah.
But he led the series, not just the team, in points, rebound, assists, block shots, and steals. And also you got to give them credit because they did not fly straight to Cleveland. They flew to Las Vegas and partied like it was 1999 after the game. So congratulations, Cleveland. I wish I could get down for the parade. I'm predicting that the parade will have more fans than the Penguins parade. They'll break the record. And that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. One little disclaimer. Golden State was his pick. I'll repeat that. Smoking Jim picked Golden State.
I lost a lot of money.
He's lost houses before, so we respect it, Smoking Jim. It didn't take you long to turn. I've been watching your exploits on Facebook. Right after they won, you started posting stuff. So you didn't stop. I give you credit there, buddy. Job well done. Chip Hainer, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Alan. And just to burst Jim's bubble slightly, doubt that the Cleveland Cavaliers will repeat as champions because the Golden State Warriors will sign Kevin Durant, and this will make them serious contenders for next year's title. The missing piece to the puzzle.
Good point.
But what's on my mind is this past weekend at one of the greatest golf courses on the planet, easily in the country. The U.S. Open was decided this past Sunday. Dustin Johnson finally broke through and won a major tournament. There was a very compelling storyline as we went through the afternoon regarding a alleged infraction during the course of the round. And you know, when you're in a major tournament like this, they have what they call rules officials available on every hole. So if they need a ruling on something to find out whether or not this is allowable, if this is a penalty, what should I do? The ruling is made there on the on the hole, and it should be. That's it. It's final. Okay, an official has ruled. This is what we've got to stay with. There is no instant replay in golf like there is in baseball or the NFL or some of the other major sports. So, you know, an incident happened where on the fifth green, Dustin Johnson was coming up to address the ball, and he had not made any contact with the ball. And as he was getting ready to make his putt, the ball rolled backward just slightly. Okay, he backed away from the ball, and he asked for a ruling from the rules official. And the rules official asked him, he said, "Did you cause that ball to move?" And he says, "No, I did not. I did not touch the ball." The gentleman that he was playing with, Lee Westwood, said to the rules official, he did not touch that ball. He did not cause that ball to move. The ruling was made to play it where it lays, no infraction, no penalty, nothing. Well, then all of a sudden on the 12th hole, the PGA decides to inform Dustin Johnson that this is under review and that they will rule on this after the round is over. So he's got hanging over his head an impending one-stroke penalty. Had, you know, things played out and he ended up tied at the end of 18 holes, he would have lost the tournament. I think this is just a horrible way to do things. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna wait until after the round is over to rule on whether or not that was an infraction, then okay, then that should be the way it is. You should not have rules officials on there to make a ruling on the course because, you know, he was going on. I think it was a horrible way for the PGA to do that, especially on a national stage and in one of the biggest tournaments of the world. Fortunately for Dustin Johnson, he rendered that point moot. He
put on a clinic.
He put on a clinic and even birdied the final hole. So
what
he finished
a shot
with
that was.
It was incredible. Two shots.
Yeah.
The drive, the second shot, 5 feet to the pin.
Right.
And then they said that putt was not an easy putt because it was a downhill putt. And had he missed it, it would have ended up probably off the green.
Yes.
Because those greens are super fast. So, you know, the point was made moot, but I think, you know, the whole issue there is what a horrible way to treat people in a major championship. I think the PGA needs to get its act together and find a better way to rule on these things. I was upset with the PGA. I was glad Dustin Johnson won the tournament. Great showing for Oakmont, for the Pittsburgh, for Bob Ford and the grounds crew at Oakmont Golf Course, because on Thursday they got 4 inches of rain.
Yeah.
And 4 inches of rain, you know, in a few hours can usually wreak havoc. And the course still played to the best of its ability. So, you know, congratulations to Dustin Johnson. Congratulations to Oakmont Country Club and everybody involved with it. Shame on the PGA.
There you go. Jeff, I got to promote Olive Oil's Pizzeria, 412-831-1900. That pizza was just great. Matter of fact, Smoking Jim's inhaling it right now. You don't have to say anything, Smoking Jim. We understand. 412-831-1900. Give Jay and Zach a call there. Tell them you want some pizza. Then with Joey Fabus, we always say stay Joey strong. 8-year-old Joey died of DIPG. This is just some information for the Joey Fabus Cancer Foundation. Check it out. They had a flea market. I heard it went pretty well on Saturday. So they're doing a lot of things in the community. Stay tuned and check out their website. Find out what's going on next. Then, if you have an organization or a group who needs money because you're doing some things for the kids in the community, there's money available from $100 to $5,000. They just opened up the new fire station that was here on Saturday, and they got a check from the Bethel Park Community Foundation of $10,000 to help with the fire station. And it's just a great facility. It's huge, and it'll be something that the community can grow into and keep us safe, and just a fantastic place. But check it out, bpcf.org. Then, I don't know if you can get a close-up of our shows for July in Atrias. There's the flyer that's there. That's Atrias PNC Park, 7 o'clock to 8. We started a little earlier there. The 11th and the 25th. Check it out. What's on my mind? Congratulations, Cleveland. It was great watching the series. Can't believe I'm saying it, but they've suffered for so long that I'm glad they did get the championship. And I think they just delayed in Vegas so they could build that crowd to 1 million people for their parade. So Smoking Jim can check that crowd out. But it was a lot of great sports this weekend. I'm not going to mention the Pirates that much, although I did go to a game. My son treated me to a game. It was last Wednesday. We drove up to New York to Citi Field. First time at Citi Field. Beautiful ballpark. And the Buccos proceeded to give up 11 runs. And we come back at the end. We were sitting next to a couple nice guys from New York. One of them actually come to PNC Park about a month ago. And he said, we got crushed, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago. New York got crushed at that time. He goes, it's just the payback. He's right. I feel your pain. And it was painful. Me and Drew suffered there. And it was just a tough game, but it is a beautiful ballpark. The one thing that is interesting, Shea Stadium used to always show the jet planes. We were timing between 1 minute and 3 minutes. An airplane was taking off and going over top of the stadium, and people really didn't notice it. After an inning or two, well, we noticed it because we're getting crushed. So, but it was fun going up there. I enjoyed it and hope to go back there sometime soon. That's my What's on Your Mind, and let's go to our other segments right now. Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
So when on your way back from New York, you stopped at the Mrs. Pennsylvania pageant?
Pardon me?
Did you, when you were on your way
I
back
still
from
don't
New
hear
York?
you.
Okay, I guess you didn't make it.
That was on a different day.
Was it a different day? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, this was Wednesday night. We stayed over and we come back Thursday in the middle of rainstorms
missed
like
it.
you couldn't believe.
Really?
Oh, it was terrible, the storms.
Wow.
Yeah, just, the weather went bad. You know it rained here too then.
A 3-hour tour.
Of what?
Weather was rough.
Yeah.
They were floating rowboats on Washington Boulevard.
Yeah.
Oh, my
In
goodness.
East Liberty, the police station was underwater.
Yeah, I was going about 30 miles an hour
It turned into
on 80.
It turned into Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give a shout out to Hank and Tommy Aaron. They are the two greatest home run hitting brothers of all time. And the Pittsburgh Pirates could use some brothers like that because Andrew McCutchen and his brothers ain't getting it done. But anywho, what's Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac?
Where'd we come up with that?
I'm going all the way back to 2001. In
15 years ago.
has it been that long? About 15 years ago, there was a high school junior that was considered the greatest player in the country. and they were saying that he's probably not going to. He's going to bypass his senior year in high school and play overseas for about $1 million a year for a season, and then go into the NBA. But he decided to play his senior year, and his name is he's from St. Mary's High School in Ohio, and his name is LeBron James. And they brought him here to the Civic Arena for an exhibition game. And I remember being shocked because it was a Sunday during football season, and I say 90% of the players of the Pittsburgh Steelers came after the game to watch this high school junior play. And they played another team that was outside of this region. And I remember sitting there seeing this kid. He's 6'9", and he was good, but you look and you're like, is he the number one player? Not only in the world, the amateur player in the world. As a junior, he scored a very quiet 25 points or so. But he was so unselfish, he passed the ball around, and he played on an all-star team. That St. Mary's team, they can recruit, and you know how teams recruit like Central Catholic.
Like Gateway, although they don't do that
just
well.
Like that, just like
they just don't do
Just
that
like
well.
the Gators.
But there was probably over 10,000 fans at the Civic Arena. And like I said, there were so many Pittsburgh Steelers players there, you thought it was a Penguin playoff game. And
That's before the Penguins won.
And this kid was just, he was just a kid. He was 15, 16 years old. He was a junior, and you kept saying that the only thing that could stop him from, flipping his life around was an injury, because he was obviously, if he could go to the NBA draft after his junior year in high school, he was going to be the number one player picked. But he had to wait another year. And like I said, the biggest controversy was they were saying that this was a kid that was going to go maybe play overseas, because why take a chance on getting hurt when he can pick up a couple $1 million playing overseas for a year. But LeBron James came to the Civic Arena in 2001 as a high school junior, and someone put on the show, scored a quiet 25 points. And did
you interview him?
No, I didn't interview him. It was a little bit before I got my media pass.
Because last week you gave us that great story about media passes.
Yeah, early 2000. Wasn't quite that early, but it was a little bit before I began the interview. But would have been a great job. But I remember Hines Ward and those guys in the stands cheering for this junior from Akron, Ohio, who nobody knew, but they knew his reputation.
Nice. And
you got NFL players leaving the game right after the game, took a quick shower, and hit it on over in 2001. And I don't know if Cordell Stewart was still on the team then, but you can see how long ago that was.
Check your notes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Cordell was still on the team in 2001. But that's what's on my mind. Fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Thanks,
It's
Smoking Jim.
It's an all Cleveland day.
I knew it would happen. He's on Facebook, all Cleveland. It's amazing.
I got family up there.
Golden State Warriors was your pickup.
Mm-hmm. And I lost heavy money.
Did you?
But,
Okay.
I found it.
Yes, you did.
All right. Chip Hainer, let's hear the trivia time.
Okay, Chip's trivia. Before I get started with Chip's trivia, this Cleveland love fest, it comes to a stop here. Okay, I'm not happy that Cleveland won. Every blind squirrel can find a nut. And if Jim says that they're going to set a record with the number of people that they have in their victory parade tomorrow, I'm just saying it'll be a record crowd. Maybe they can watch the Cuyahoga River burn again.
Whoa! It's cleaned up now.
Okay, so let's go through some trivia. Okay, speaking of trivia, who holds the record for points scored in Game 7 of an NBA Finals?
Will Chamberlain, maybe?
No, not LeBron James. That would have been Jerry West, the man who the NBA logo was modeled after. I just thought 42.
I love him.
42. and to talk about, probably one of the greatest players that I ever saw in my lifetime. And I think really his performance on the court is what really spoke to how great he was.
Larry Bird.
Michael Jordan won his NBA record 8th scoring title in 1996. Whom did he share the record with? What, 7? Wilt Chamberlain.
All right.
Wilt Chamberlain. And I say that Michael Jordan's actions on the court are what, kind of, dictate his greatness. And that's why I don't feel that LeBron James can hold that word, because LeBron James tells everybody that he's the greatest. And I don't think that's something that he should decide. That should be decided after your career's over, and not by you, but not by you. Just because we had the U.S. Open last weekend, of the golf course at Oakmont is a real true test. Not very many people shoot under par. Who was the first golfer to play all 4 rounds of a U.S. Open under par? And think about all the great golfers that have played over the centuries of golf.
Arnold.
Lee Trevino.
Wow.
In 1968.
Golf ain't the same without Tiger.
Yeah, I know. It's actually enjoyable. It's fun to watch.
Smoking Jim doesn't even watch it anymore.
Okay. Now, I'm going to throw a little piece of trivia here, and some of you may scratch your head as to how this has a connection to Pittsburgh, but it does.
All right.
Who is the only Chicago Cubs player to be named MVP, or actually co-MVP, of the Major League All-Star Game? Okay, he played on a Pittsburgh Pirate World Championship team, Bill Madlock, who was the third baseman, and he shared that honor with John Matlack, who was a pitcher for the New York Mets. Now, what significance does John Matlack have in his tie to Pittsburgh? John Matlack gave up the 3,000th hit to Roberto Clemente in 1972.
Good trivia.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, all right. So, I've always felt that the greatest record in all professional sports, the record that I feel will never be broken, is the 56-game hitting streak of Joe DiMaggio.
73 and 9. Won't be broken either.
Yeah, but they didn't win a championship, so that point's moot. En route to his 56-game hitting streak on June 19th, 1941, which I feel is probably one of the greatest years in Major League Baseball, because 2 significant facts happened in 1941. The summer of 1941, Joe DiMaggio had his 56-game hitting streak, and Ted Williams was the last player to bat 400 for the season. And the funny thing is that Ted Williams batted 400 for the season and did not win the league MVP that year.
Wow.
Who won it?
Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio hit in a 32nd consecutive game, going 3 for 3, including a home run against the Chicago White Sox, June 19th, 1941. June 19th, 1942. Former Pirate Paul Wainer got number 3,000, a single off of Rip Sewell. So he joined the 3,000 hit club, which was pretty rare air at that time.
Sure.
A second Pirate to do that, first being the great Honus Wagner, Carnegie's own nonetheless. In 1961, June 19th, Roger Maris's 9th inning homer off of Kansas City's Jim Archer was the 25th of the year, putting him 7 games ahead of the Babe Ruth pace in 1927. That was when the Babe hit 60. Maris chased his record. And, now that baseball has a new hit king, Ichiro Suzuki has passed the greatest singles hitter in baseball history.
Who won't be in the Hall of Fame?
And deservedly so. Cincinnati's Pete Rose and Willie Davis of the Los Angeles Dodgers both collected their 2,000th hit on the same day in 1973. Oh, by the way, Pete Rose's hit was a single.
No surprise. Not a surprise.
All right, and also I always like to make note of significant achievements in baseball, especially in baseball history. I think the 300 win plateau for a pitcher is Hall of Fame worthy. And on June 18th, pardon me?
Me too. I think
Okay, 1986, Don Sutton, California's Don Sutton, pitched a 3-hitter for his 300th career victory. The 41-year-old right-hander became the 19th pitcher in baseball history to win 300 games. And I bring this to note because with the way baseball has evolved and the way pitching is now, careers do not last that long. And I don't think that we're going to see very many 300-win pitchers
Oh.
in the major leagues because they just they
not
don't
gonna
have
do
the
it.
arm strength. They don't throw as much, and I think it shortens the careers of the pitchers. So these are events that I think are worth making note of. And last but not least, and this is for Boston Red Sox fans. On June 18th, 2011, Johnny Damon hit his 500th double as Tampa beat Florida 7-4. Now, Johnny Damon was with the Red Sox when they won their first series since the curse of the Bambino was broken. And the reason I bring this up, it was an opposite field, bloop double to left. The first became the 11th player all time to have 500 doubles, 100 triples, 200 homers, and 2,500 hits in his career. Fairly significant accomplishments for a ball player.
That's true. Just a quick question before we go to Al Levine, the talking machine. Why don't you think that Joe DiMaggio's record will ever be broken? It looks like
Well,
it's something that could be
I will
broken.
tell you, I'll answer that question for you real simply. The way baseball is now, pitchers, if you get 5.5, 6 innings out of your starting pitcher, you get a new pitcher in, he's fresh. You've got 100-mile-an-hour pitchers that come into the middle of the game. You have guys that come in and they're specialists. I'm a 6th-inning specialist. I'm a 7th-inning specialist. So you got a different pitcher, and you got to get your timing down on each pitcher. If you see a pitcher and you bat against him like 4 times, you pretty much you know what he's going to throw you. You know where he's going to release the ball. You know what to look for. And as the game goes on, his arm gets a little tired. Instead of maybe throwing a ball 100 miles an hour, maybe he's throwing it 97 miles an hour in the 8th or 9th inning. You have a better chance of getting a hit off of somebody you've seen more than once than you do. You may only end up going to bat against a pitcher at the most 2 times in a game. So, I think the way the game has evolved and with the specialization of relief pitchers and middle relief and starting pitching that, the favor lies with the pitchers, not the batters.
So you're giving me another excuse.
No, I'm just presenting the facts.
You putting inferior pitchers in, you should be getting hits off of those guys.
They're not inferior pitchers.
Inferior.
How do you say somebody like Aroldis Chapman who throws 101
The
miles an hour?
Pirates just
inferior?
did they just send their rookie pitcher down after 3 games,
They
or is
brought
he
him
still
back
up?
up.
Or is he still in
They
the
brought
big
him back.
leagues
Well,
after
we will
giving
talk
up
about the
11
You must have
Pirates
missed that. We'll hit that in the next segment here.
We will be talking about the Pirates. There's quite a bit to talk about with the Pirates, too.
All that open space in baseball, somebody should be able to get a hit a game. Unless they do like they did Barry Bonds and just keep
And
walking.
maybe
them.
that's why since 1941 nobody's done it, right?
But you said
Did
it's
Barry Bonds do
You
it?
said it was pretty impossible to do, and I'm
Wait,
thinking
did
it
Barry
should
Bonds
be.
do it?
Huh?
The greatest hitter you ever saw, did Barry Bonds do
You
it?
said it was the hardest
Yes
record
or
to
no?
get.
Answer the question.
They kept walking
yes
Barry.
or no? Answer the question.
If he's walking every time.
you won't answer the question.
Ding, ding.
No,
Ding,
no,
ding.
Barry didn't
We'll
do it.
continue this at a later point.
My point's
He
made.
just saved the game.
Thanks for the trivia time, Chip.
You're
We got a
welcome.
little
Great job.
distracted with Smoking
Oh,
Jim.
Jim, it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun.
I don't understand his point, but we'll have to review the film
Thanks for
on
getting
this.
me going. He's successful.
You're going. All right, and I'm going. On location, next week, the Pirates have a game at home, so we won't be at Atria's.
Boo.
So we won't be on location next week. And then July 4th, we're supposed to be at Hollywood Lanes, but due to the holiday, we won't be there. So the 4th show will be our Hall of Fame show on July 18th. Smoking Jim is working feverishly on that. He's getting the guests lined up and getting the Hall of Fame people ready. How many will we have?
Looking
Do we know?
Looking at about 7 this year.
7. Wow. I thought it was only like 4. They must have added a few since we talked after Cleveland won. Well, we'll see what happens there. So that's our on-location report. Stay tuned for updates, and we'll be letting you know where we'll be. We may be at the Meadows before that, before the 4th or somewhere around then. So check that out, and you'll see us on location. Thanks for watching. Now let's go right to the Pirates segment here.
Adios.
I told you where I was last Wednesday, and it was just a brutal game by Syndergaard. What a pitcher. They kept him into the ninth inning. And he just was still throwing 97 to 98, 100 miles an hour. It was just unreal.
And you know, because I know the this one over here, but you know, if anything has been proven over the last 8-9 months, professional sports, I completely had written off the Pittsburgh Penguins as having any chance of making the playoffs as early as December.
Maybe a little
we were
earlier.
calling for Sid Crosby to be traded. We were calling for Malkin to be traded, for Fleury to be traded. Lo and behold, what happened? The players played, and the Penguins ultimately ended up playing the best hockey of their careers in the second half of the season. So right now,
But they did get a new coach.
they did.
You
So
can't
right
take
now,
that
the
away.
Pirates are 34-36. And just for everybody's information, the last time the Pirates were 34-36, 70 games into the season, was in 2014. In 2014, the Pirates ended up 88-74 and ended up with a wild card spot. Now, that all being said, the Pirates have made a lot of correct decisions. Neil Huntington has been like a magician, you know, picking up players. Ray Searage has been resurrecting careers. Well, you know, they made some decisions that have not panned out this year, and in respect to the pitching staff, some of the some of the people that we counted on to be big players, Francisco Liriano for one, have severely underperformed. Garrett Cole started the year off slow, was pitching well, and he's on the injured list. Ryan Vogelsong, who was a veteran starter they picked up over the winter, got his face busted open with a fastball. Juan Nicasio, who showed such promise in the spring, has not panned out as a starting pitcher, and I think he would be better served in middle relief and help to bolster the bullpen. What the Pirates have been able to do is they have been able to introduce Jameson Taillon to the major leagues, and I think he is here to stay. Now, everybody else is saying, well, what about Tyler Glasnow? Well, Tyler Glasnow, according to the experts, is not ready for the big time. Right now, he's a two-pitch pitcher.
He's ready.
And he is having problems with his control. In the last game that he pitched, he walked 6 batters in just a few innings. So he's having trouble finding the strike zone, and he's working on developing 2 other pitches, one of them being a changeup. Once he has mastered this and is more than just a one-trick pony, he will be ready for the major leagues. He's not ready yet. They brought up Wilfredo Boscan, who's starting tonight for the Pirates against Johnny Cueto.
Yeah.
And last night, Jeff Locke, the most maligned pitcher on the Pirates staff, outperformed Madison Bumgarner, arguably the best left-hander in baseball.
Yeah.
You know, so there are some things going on with the Pirates. Now let's talk about the position players. We solidified the first base position with John Jaso. He's not a big home run hitter. He gets on base a lot, and he's way outperformed anything Pedro Alvarez could have ever imagined doing. Josh Harrison is a much better fielding second baseman than Neil Walker.
Come on.
And he's a 300 hitter, something Neil Walker never was able to do. Now, sure, you may miss their home runs, but home runs are not the only way that you can score runs. Gregory Polanco has been performing above expectations. Starling Marte is one of the top hitters in the league. Yes, I did.
Yeah, that was great.
You know, Andrew McCutchen, he's another player on the list of underperforming. And I believe that, Andrew McCutchen will figure it out, and we will see better baseball from him over the next 3 months than we did over the first 3 months.
Grow your hair back.
So, Jung Ho Gong came up, and he has outperformed what any of our expectations were after suffering a horrific injury.
And his power's still there.
So, I think what we're looking forward to seeing the second half of the season is I'm going to watch a Pirates team that is going to battle. It's going to scratch. It's going to claw. It's going to do whatever it has to do, and it's going to stay in the race, and they are going to make the playoffs for the 4th year. I don't think they have the ability to catch the Cubs for the division title, but the playoffs for the 4th year in a row, is definitely not out of the realm of possibility, and I think the Pirates are going to get it together.
Only three games out of the wild card right now. That ain't bad.
No, they are in the race, but there are some things that need to change, and I think that Andrew McCutchen, before the season started, they rated the top 100 players in baseball. Andrew McCutchen was rated as one of the top 5 players in baseball. Now, do his statistics reflect that so far this season? And the answer is no. But if you understand anything about the game of baseball, this is not unusual to happen to a player in the game of baseball. You go through streaks. This is the worst streak of his career. He will fight his way out of it the same way he did last year. I don't know if he's battling injuries or what it is, but his timing seems to be off.
Well, on that injury point, I think he has an injury. He should sit down and sit out. I think let it heal up. If you hurt a tendon or you hurt a wrist,
I agree.
I would rather a guy sit down for a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and then see what happens. Because he has the skills. The weather's warm. It's not April anymore. He hits.
I agree. And then I think the biggest blow to us was losing both of our starting catchers. Francisco Cervelli has really solidified the pitching staff, and he's going to be out a few more weeks. And Chris Stewart is injured. He has a sore left knee. He's missing his 4th game in a row tonight.
Look, he got hit in the ribs.
By a ball. But it's the knee that's the
I know,
problem.
but he's
in the collision at the plate the other night. So right now we've got somebody that what was the guy's name? Krul or something?
Kratz.
Like that? Kratz. He hits his 24th home run in his major league career last night against Madison Bumgarner.
Wow.
And
we needed it.
the guy's 36 years old. He's hit 24 home runs in his career. So that was an unlikely
journeyman,
source.
yes.
He's an unlikely source. They brought up the Pitt basketball coach's son, who's catching tonight, Jacob Stallings.
Oh yeah.
Yes, he was.
Wow,
he's been in the
that.
Pirates farm system. So his dad gets to watch him play Major League Baseball tonight. But that has been a real big blow. But we're not the only team that has injuries. And you know what? The Pirates are going to be there at the end of the day. It's a 6-month season. We're not even halfway there.
I'm still predicting World Series.
We're not even halfway there yet, Jim. But, and it's fun. And I hate to admit this, but yes, right now the Cubs are a monster. They're a machine. And it's really going to be really satisfying this fall watching them fail for another time and extend that streak from 1908 since the Cubs won a World Series. That is the longest streak in major amateur, any type of sports. It has been 108 years and counting.
What kind of curse they got on them?
The curse of the Billy Goat.
The Billy Goat. Okay. Yeah. That's a tough one to overcome.
Yeah,
Is it? You don't even know
because
about
the last time
it.
they,
You don't even know about the
You want
Billy
to hear
Goat.
the interesting thing, Jim? The last time the Cubs made it to not the last time they made it to the World Series, but they won the World Series in 1908. And they played the Pirates in 1909 and lost.
Really?
Yeah.
That's some good trivia.
That was the Pirates' first World Championship.
1909.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
We actually played in the first World Series, I think, against Boston.
Yes.
What year?
And we lost.
Yeah, that was
1905.
What
That
they
was-
had before that?
That was down
They
at
didn't have it.
Exposition Park, and that was right on the north side, and there is a marker down there over by Heinz Field where the park once stood.
I like to see that marker.
You walked by it.
You walk right by it.
Yeah, you missed it. You're not a baseball fan.
And I think that pretty much kind of wraps up,
Buccos.
our Bucco talk. I do have some interesting tidbits regarding the
Bring back
Pittsburgh
Evans
Penguins.
Field.
Evansfield? I'd love to see that.
Me too.
In Brooklyn.
You never saw it
You
originally.
see all the posts I put on about that?
Yeah.
But,
That's why he's saying it.
Some interesting information that I stumbled across today regarding the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins are the Stanley Cup champions, and right now there's a lot of things that are in flux, and I understand the Calgary Flames have made some inquiries into the possibility of trading for Marc-Andre Fleury.
Won't happen.
What
What are they offering?
Well, what they are offering is a mid-level prospect and a potentially a second-round draft pick. What the Penguins have asked for is their first-round draft pick in the draft this year, which is the number 6 pick in the draft. And I don't think Calgary is willing to do that. We will see what will happen. They, these trades will start as rumors. Also, on the wire I saw from Bleacher Report, it appears that the Chicago Blackhawks are extremely interested in one Evgeny Malkin. And the Blackhawks would have to find some way to fit him under their salary cap. But, the reason I bring these two things up, because Evgeny Malkin makes $11 or $12 million a year. And Marc-Andre Fleury is going to make $5.75 million next year. Okay, and the Penguins right now, as we sit, are $2.5 million over the salary cap. Some moves need to be made to get them under the cap. And, they've got a bunch of young players coming up, and they've got some other players that are going to need to be paid. So I would not be too surprised if some type of move is made. Now, Jim Rutherford was interviewed today, and he said he's not looking to make any moves right now at all. But, of course, any smart GM will tell you if somebody's coming to you with an offer, you're going to sit there and listen to it because, it can't hurt to listen.
With the expansion, the draft, we could lose Fleury.
Right.
Well, something's going to...
Well, here's what... That gets me to my final point.
Okay.
And we've got the expansion draft, could be coming up probably next year. Now, here's what the thing is with the expansion draft. If you have a player that has a no-trade clause, then you must protect him. Okay? And you're only going to be allowed to protect one goaltender. So if the Penguins have Marc-Andre Fleury on their protected list, that means Matt Murray is unprotected.
Right.
And that means that he could go to an expansion team. Now, the difference between Murray and Fleury, each one has won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
The advantage to Murray is the fact that he's 10 years younger than Marc-Andre Fleury, and he's got more upside. Marc-Andre Fleury has been a fabulous goaltender, great for the city of Pittsburgh. He still has a lot of good years left in him. But when you're working against the salary cap and the potential loss of one of your goaltenders, you have to make some hard decisions on what's going to be in the best interest of the team moving forward. So this isn't about performance or anything like that. It's about what's going to help the team.
Well, there's about 12 teams that cannot trade Fleury to because of his contract.
Well, see, Fleury doesn't have a complete no-trade contract clause. There are certain teams that he would accept, but the team would have to get his okay to make those arrangements. But there's only there's a handful of teams that he said that if you guys want to trade me, but it all depends on what Marc-Andre Fleury wants to do. Nobody knows. He hasn't said anything.
Why would he at this time?
And right now it's time for the Penguins to enjoy winning their championship. The interesting thing is the NHL draft's coming up here in a few days, and right after the draft, the Penguins get the cup for 100 days, and every player in the team, and all the coaches, they get it for a day, with the exception of Sid Crosby. He gets it for 2 because he's the team captain. So, they can do whatever it is they want with that within reason.
Well, I didn't like them taking it to the golf course. I thought that was a distraction.
To who?
For the golfers. Yeah.
They didn't even notice.
Yeah, but the crowd gets to, Tiger didn't like that. Golf is a little bit.
Where was
golf
Tiger
is a little
at?
bit different. I thought it was.
Hold it. Where was Tiger? You dropped Tiger's name. Where was Tiger?
But golfers don't like that.
Jupiter,
the noise.
Tiger wasn't even here.
I thought this bringing the Stanley Cup wasn't a good idea at a golf course.
I think it was a great idea.
Because the crowd gets into it, the guys can't concentrate.
I think it would have been a better idea if they'd had a chipping contest and tried putting the ball in the cup.
When it was filled up with champagne and Smoking Jim. I think it was the right thing to do because there won't be another U.S. Open till 2025.
Here in Pittsburgh.
Yes, in Pittsburgh.
Well, they should never bring
So,
the cup
that's
to a
an
golf
honor
You
to
can't-
do it there with the Pittsburgh people there and the out-of-town people that
But you
used
want
to
it to
be
be
in
quiet.
Pittsburgh.
You ever hear the golf announcers are quiet, and all of a
No,
sudden
no,
you
no.
hear the cheer. They're passing the cup around, drinking
they should
lemonade
be.
out of it.
They didn't shoot anybody. They didn't take their shots. They waited.
I think there's a
It was
few,
perfect.
I think it hurt a few golfers that maybe put a
Can you name one?
No, and Jim is entitled to his opinion.
Well, he didn't name one golfer that it hurt or distracted, except Tiger.
Maybe
who was-
Shane Lowry, who just like the Golden State Warriors, had an epic collapse on Sunday. He started off the day at 7 under par with a 4-stroke lead in the final in the U.S. Open. And what did he do? He shot a 6 over par, lost by 3 strokes, almost kind of like the Golden State Warriors did, who were right
Well,
on the
hold it.
precipice, who were right on the precipice of potentially being the greatest team of all time, but failed miserably.
And with Lowry, he must have enjoyed the cup being there because he took the lead instantly and held on to it.
No, but that's
So it didn't affect him one bit.
That's the thing about that golf course is that Friday was an easier day for the golfers because the course was saturated, and Saturday the course hadn't
It
completely dried out. But as the day went on Saturday, the greens got faster, and the greens were lightning quick on Sunday, and and that's the way the members like it. And I saw a video where somebody dropped a ball into the
And it
6-inch
ran.
rough. And you couldn't even see the ball. I mean, it's
Right.
like you needed
It
a weed
disappeared.
whacker. Yeah, you needed a weed whacker to get it out of there.
I'm not a member.
And what does that have to do with
He
any
said
of the
the members
conversation?
like it.
Well, that's because
Well,
the members
You don't even
they
golf.
play the course tougher than they usually do for the Open. But that's what they want. They pay
Smoke
pay
and
their
Jim,
dues. They can have what they want.
We're going to have to put you on probation there. You're just saying things because your Golden State Warriors didn't win. You said it didn't matter if they won or not. They're still the
Some-
greatest
what?
team ever.
Since but
True.
all this aside, let's get back to our Pittsburgh sports. Last week, the Steelers wrapped up their
OTA.
the OTAs in minicamp, and some interesting comments by one Mr. Ben Roethlisberger, who made the comment that he feels that they should go for 2 every time they score. And I just want to know what my friend Jim's thoughts are about that.
Hey, you got a 50-50 shot anymore going for 2, and I think with their offense, why not? Why not go for 2?
It could be the changing of the guard here in the NFL, and the kickers could end up being, because you look at
cares
what they're
about the
doing with the kickers in the NFL. They're not allowing, they're fixing it so there's no run back. So why even bother kicking the ball off? Why don't you just give the team the ball at the 20-yard line and just
Good point.
start it? Because that way, if you're worried about players' health and safety,
Maybe less concussions.
And I can't remember the last time somebody got hurt on a kickoff return. That's just the commissioner.
That's your friend.
flexing his muscles.
Yeah,
Roger
So
Goodell.
what do you think about this malarkey that
Mike?
Tom Brady is actually going to try to take his case all the way to the Supreme Court? And if the
should.
Supreme Court would actually rule on something so ridiculous,
Well, it'll delay his suspension.
Clarence Thomas would vote in Brady's favor.
Where did you get political now?
Because Supreme Court, he got Clarence Thomas on his side.
like
How do
there's
you know?
not better things to rule on than whether or not Tom Brady should be suspended.
He's a fighter. He's a fighter.
I mean, the players gave Roger Goodell the power to discipline the players. Who was the only team that did not ratify
Steelers.
the collective bargaining agreement? The Pittsburgh Steelers, because they knew what was going to happen. They knew he was going to abuse his power because they'd done it before to them. Everybody else, they were too busy trying to count the dollar signs, greedy as they are, and they didn't think about what the implications of ratifying that was. Now they're finding out, and it's being drugged through the courts. The attorneys are getting rich.
Yeah, good point.
Change the subject a little. Smoking Jim, we went to boxing on Saturday at the Meadows. What'd you think of that? Great venue.
Man, it was great venue. I tell you what, I am just so pleased with the way they present boxing and MMA at the Meadows.
Isn't that tent great? And the air conditioning was on it. You didn't even
Tent-
know it was
tent was
90
great.
degrees out there.
Nobody's getting in free. They got people making sure that everybody
I
has
know.
a ticket, and we couldn't have had better seats. And I think all the fights was outstanding. And I tell you what, the Mitch Morgan Fitch is
Big Chief.
The Big Chief looked like a top 15 fighter in the world to me.
Well, he just won his number 17th by knockout.
Wow.
So that was quite a fight.
Yeah.
Had his kids nearby.
Yeah, I mean, he got all kind of kids.
Well, he has 3 kids.
Okay, boy.
Yeah,
it
2
seemed
daughters
like
were in the ring, and the baby
Okay.
and the mother were right outside the ring.
Okay, it seemed like it was more than that, but
Well, they were other fans and relatives.
okay. And he waved to us before the fight. I didn't even hardly
I
recognize
know.
him.
I didn't.
But So it was great. The fights were outstanding. It was only 5 fights, but they were all good.
How about our friend Joe Board?
Joe
Board Boxing.
Board Boxing. And
the first professional fight for women at the Meadows.
At the Meadows.
How about that? Cheyenne Gist, a friend of the show. She was a guest.
And what a beautiful lady. And I told her that as beautiful as she is outside the ring, and she spoke to us even before the fight, when she got in that ring, I didn't recognize her. She got that vein going down the middle of her forehead, and she was serious. I told her, you transform when you get in the ring. And she totally did. I loved her outfit that she had on.
What was that, a pink skirt?
Yeah, it was a pink skirt. It looked
Rarely
good on
do
her.
you see that.
Yeah, so it was great. But then she came over to us, after the fight and thanked us for being there and stuff. Like, what a class act.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And she fought a MMA lady who was her first boxing fight.
Yeah.
So it was a tough match because the lady that was MMA, she was constantly on the defense, constantly going away from Cheyenne trying to hit her. Yeah. And she did catch up to her a few times.
Yeah, she did. Yes, she did.
It was impressive there.
I enjoyed myself.
And how about the last fight of the night? 10 rounds of nonstop fighting. What were they, bantamweights?
And I tell you what, the crowd spoke a lot of Spanish in the crowd. And so both fighters were very supported by their fan base, and the one guy that won was from Cleveland.
I know.
So a lot of people came down for that. So it was
that
very
was a preview of things to come.
Yeah,
Sunday.
The City of Champions.
Yeah,
I think the baseball team in Cleveland's undefeated. I mean,
the Cleveland Indians are performing very well, and the only problem is that nobody in the city of Cleveland knows that that's happening because they have the lowest attendance in Major League Baseball this year.
But at one time they were selling out. Before we got PNC Park, they were selling out.
Oh yeah, back when the Jake first opened in 1994, and actually the year that that Cleveland, I feel that the Cleveland baseball team would have and should have won the World Series was the year that Major League Baseball canceled the World Series because of the pending players' strike.
Yeah.
The owners locked out the players. That year, that team had Albert Bell, it had a young Manny Ramirez, and
great team.
And that Cleveland team was just stacked, and that was also the same team that lost Game 7 of the World Series in 1997 to Jim Leyland's Marlins.
Wow.
Just another in a history of collapses.
Speaking of history, I remember being at the Meadows, and I was in the Snyder stable at the time, and Jim Leyland his brother-in-law owned horses with the Snyders.
Really?
So he's at the races there, and I'm sitting next to him. He's like, "Who do you like?" I said, "Oh, I like this horse." And he goes, "I like it too." He goes to watch the race. He's running up around the track.
Jim Leyland?
Yeah, he's running by it. Wow. He's so into racing, horse racing, that it was just mind-blowing.
He outran the horse.
No. He went to the TV, saw the start. Then he went outside. When it was coming down the lane, the horse won. He's shaking my hand. He's all happy. And then they told me, this was right before he's going to Miami. And I go, "Oh, what do you think about it?" He goes, "It's a move I had to make, and we'll see what happens there. They got a nice team."
Well,
and it was before he went to Miami.
I
was there that night with him.
If you remember, the reason why he went to Miami was, and actually he went with the Pirates' blessings because the ownership told him, "Like, look, we're almost bankrupt. We're almost bankrupt. We can't afford to buy, give you the players that you need to challenge for a championship." And and if your wish is to win a championship, we give you your blessing, and they let him go because people don't remember before Jim Leyland became manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Pirates almost moved out of Pittsburgh then because of the drug trials in the early to mid '80s that involved Dave Parker and Bill Madlock and a number of other players. With the drug trials, Dale Barra, who was actually out in the middle of games doing drugs on the field during the course of the game. But there was been several occasions over the last 30 years where the Pirates almost moved out of Pittsburgh. There was the mid '80s, then there was the mid '90s, and that's when Kevin McClatchy's group came in and got things turned around, got the funding for PNC Park, and look where they're at today.
Yeah. Big difference there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
and
said-
Smoking Jim, you didn't follow baseball back then,
No,
so that's why
I
you didn't
never
know
heard
that.
nothing about that.
Yeah, it was huge in every paper, even the Courier, New Pittsburgh Courier. It was on their front pages. It was all over the place.
News to me.
Well, you're a little Johnny come lately, which
That's
we
okay.
understand.
That's why I'm here to enlighten you, my
I
friend.
appreciate it.
That's
and
why
I'll
I'm
help
here to
you too
enlighten
with a few things
Thank
too.
you, sir.
We got about 4 minutes left to go. Smoking Jim, you got anything else going on?
No.
Nothing. You didn't even talk about your kickballers. This is so disappointing.
I went Sunday and enjoyed
What
myself.
happened?
And there's no longer any undefeated teams. But
There's 5 teams.
There's 5 teams, and they all got at least one loss.
Yeah.
And I like to close out by saying that even in 2999, the world will still be talking about 73-9, record that'll never be broken. DiMaggio's record will be broken before 73-9.
I don't believe
Yeah, but
that.
you know what?
That's so ridiculous.
The 73-9 just rings hollow, just like the 16-0 that the Patriots put up in 2007. Because if you don't have a championship trophy to hang on that, it means nothing.
Good point, Chip. And Smoking Jim, I'm glad you brought that up, since you don't know baseball. You haven't followed anything that Chip's been telling you or I've told you. You don't even understand the hitting
What would I know
streaks.
about drugs?
Wow.
No, but I do believe, when Jim did say this in the beginning, and I do believe that you want to hang the goat ears on somebody. It's Draymond Green getting himself suspended for Game 5.
It changed the whole dichotomy.
Well, it gave Cleveland life, and you know what? All they needed was something to get the momentum going. And then, of course, all this trash talking and stuff. And Jim said, you poke an angry bear, sooner or later he's going to get up. And it started rolling, and there wasn't any stopping it.
I think Cleveland figured out what to do defensively, which made a difference, like you were alluding
Well, I
to.
think they got into people's heads.
Well, that's part of it.
Is what I think
I
happened.
think they got a call from Oscar Robinson.
May have.
Big O.
I'm telling you what,
I
he's
know
one of
you
the
did.
greatest of all time.
I agree.
Did he not
Averaged
average a triple double
for his career.
for an entire
career.
season?
For a season and for a career.
And stuff like that's just
189 triple doubles in his career.
Wow.
Just happened to have that in the back of my mind.
Did you?
Memory bank.
Where do you pull out these facts?
And wasn't Oscar Robinson and a young Lou Alcindor
Milwaukee Bucks.
brought
Yeah.
a championship to the Milwaukee Bucks, the only championship they had.
I don't think he was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar then.
He was Lou Alcindor. He was Lou Alcindor then.
Smoking Jim, you're almost on fire. That's the little delay with you. I hope everybody learned something about
That's why I
Smoking
didn't
Jim.
call him Kareem. He did not become Kareem until after that.
Well, somehow you get it, Chip. Smoking Jim's just reaching there for something. That 189 triple doubles was impressive.
Oscar Robinson was an amazing basketball player. Same as Pete Maravich, averaging, in college 44 points a game,
And
no
Pete
3-point
Rose.
line.
Who?
Pete Rose.
You never knew about Pete Rose until a few years ago. You were on Pittsburgh Sportsline. Now you're aware of Pete Rose,
Yeah.
the greatest singles hitter that will never be in the Hall of Fame by his choice,
Yeah.
by his signed paper.
There's nothing better than a degenerate gambler.
Well, Smoking Jim's pretty close. He lost another house.
I don't think Jim's a degenerate at all.
No, but he did lose another house. We know that. It's just a shame. You got to listen to him, but if you haven't started betting, don't bet. If you want to bet, don't follow Smoking Jim all the time because it varies. And we're going to wrap up this show with, I want to thank you all for watching, and please stay Joey strong.